Welcome back to the Bleav in Badger Football podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, good to see you as always, buddy.
Good to see you too. How you guys doing?
I'm so excited to have our guest today. We have, I was telling him before the show, the first Badger jersey I ever purchased. The number 9 jersey of the one and only Travis Beckum. Travis, thank you so much for spending some time with us here today.
Appreciate you fellas for having me. It's a pleasure.
Sadly, Travis earned $0 for that purchase.
You know what? They came back a few years later, and there was something that they negotiated as far as like player likeliness to give some guys a few dollars. And I think it was like maybe like they sent me like a check for $2,000. And I'm like, come on. Like, I'm still going to Badger game days now, and I see more than that. If I do the math and it's like $50 a jersey, I see more than that. $2,000. Come on, fellas. Come on.
Well, it's an easy payout to say, go away.
Yeah,
Here's $2,000,
exactly.
go away.
Exactly.
We're going to sell. Listen, what's funny is the jerseys, my jersey was sold. I saw a hat once with a 45, and on the back it said Bernstein. And my parents brought all the hats, obviously, and I still have it. But the crazy thing is, obviously I never saw $1 of it. I didn't even expect to see it because I just understood that the NCAA just kind of rips people off. My favorite part was you couldn't, like in Wisconsin, I'm sure for you it was harder because your family was all from there. For me, you couldn't get the Bernstein put on the back of the jersey in Wisconsin. They wouldn't do it. Like they somehow they knew it was a trademark issue. So really? My parents just flew back to New York, went to any other jersey store, and they put Bernstein on every single one that they got. Man. Oh man. Well, Travis, thanks for coming on. I know it's early, but we're happy to have you. And all we do is chop it up and talk about you.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I hope you have the answers to your story.
Nothing better than just talking about me. Let's go.
Well, so Travis, you're originally from Oak Creek, right? And you're in high school. You were an outstanding linebacker. It says here you were in the All-American Bowl.
Yeah.
Damn,
so
you're the leading tackler.
Yeah, I went to high school in Oak Creek. I'm from Milwaukee.
Okay.
And I don't want my Milwaukee listeners to get upset about that, because if I was listening and I tried to claim Oak Creek, I would. But I'm from Milwaukee and I went to Oak Creek. But yes, the high school All-American game, the Army National All-American game, awesome experience. It's crazy because I watch All-American now, and obviously a little background on that is about Spencer Paysinger. I actually played with Paysinger on the Super Bowl team with the Giants. And in a few of the episodes, actually Deshaun Jackson, which plays for the Rams, came onto the show about the high school All-American game. And we all Deshaun and I played together in that. And I think Spencer was a year later. But yeah, it was an awesome experience down in, I think it was in San Antonio. But yeah, awesome experience.
Wait, go back, because I'm an All-American fan, and my wife thinks it's corny because it's on the CW, but I think it's great.
I love All-American.
I think it's great. But there's a lot of like drama that goes on in that. I know we shouldn't like go into this realm, but when you talk to Spence, like, did half of that stuff actually happen?
So I didn't want to go into details with them, because sometimes some people get a little weird about it, like as far as like what they can say and what they can't say. But I'll put it like this. I didn't know any of that when we played together. The main thing is I didn't know he got shot. Like, you would think from his upbringing, like he wasn't surrounded around that. Like, he is a very chill, very respectful kind of guy, in which Spencer is in the movie. But the background, it doesn't necessarily portray the Spencer that I played with.
Wow, that's so interesting. I love the show. So if that's a huge shout out. I know, Matt, if you haven't watched it, I mean, you got to get into it.
I have not watched it. I'm not even familiar with it. Where can I find this?
It's on Hulu, and I think it's
Netflix.
on Netflix now. It's really corny, but it's really cool to see somebody's story like that, coming out of out of Compton or Crenshaw?
Crenshaw,
Crenshaw High School.
Is it fictional? Is it reenactment? Is it documentary?
It's like historical.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story. Okay, cool.
It's based on a true story. I mean, obviously there, with every story you have to sell, and there's some stuff that I'm sure is probably exaggerated, but it's based off of a true story.
Timelines compressed and that.
Also, there is not one even remotely ugly person in that show. It's like all 9s and 10s. Man. I don't even know if there's a 9 in the show. It's all 10s and like up.
Well, I mean, Bernie, they don't have you in the show, so it's not all.
That's why do you? There's all 9s and ups. That's why I'm not in the show.
I'm like, dude, they got these dating apps out here. Just go on All American. It's just like, Jesus.
Just go on All American and slide into somebody's DMs.
Exactly.
All right, so Chad, let's get back to you, because I love going on tangents. But so, what made you want to start playing football?
That's a good question. So, I grew up watching like Brett Favre and Leroy Butler and Andre Rison. And I remember just sitting at home with my mom one day and just watching those guys, especially when they played in the Superdome, and telling my mom that was going to be me one day. And awesome story, because I think my mom was the only person that always believed that I could do it, because of course, if I'm telling my mom that, I'm telling my friends that, and whoever else. But so I always played football. I always played around the neighborhood until I got to organized football. And I always played with guys that were bigger and older and stronger than me. And then organized football came around with pads and everything. And I want to say around 6th grade. And it was just like, it just came natural to me. And that was all that. From that day on, that was all that I knew. And again, my mom always told me that I would be able to do it. I'd still continuously tell my friends the older I got. And it got me to where I can now say that I would have brought my Super Bowl ring, but I dropped the ball on that one. But yeah, so I actually went back to New York two weeks ago, and we had our 10-year Super Bowl anniversary. So started 6th grade, and then got me all the way to the Super Bowl. So
that's fantastic. A lot of twists and turns though. So I'm pumped to talk about, like, because you didn't start out as a tight end. For anyone who doesn't know, you started you were a linebacker. What were you in high school? You were a linebacker, and
so I was a linebacker. I was a linebacker, and I played a little bit of tight end. So my freshman year at Oak Creek, I played linebacker for probably 2 weeks, and then they moved me up to JV, and then played linebacker there, and finished the season at linebacker, and then went to linebacker my sophomore year, which Coach Cook, which is now down in Texas, which is our head coach, awesome human being. And they had me on varsity my sophomore year, in which I was like, putting a lot of pressure on me. I think he believed in me more than I believed in myself. And finished the season at linebacker. And it was basically like, when I say tight end, it was basically like, coach was like, all right, Travis, we need to go on offense. You just run straight down the field. I'm like, say no more, coach, say no more. And that's what happened. And there was no routes. It was just go run straight. And when people ask what I played in high school, it was linebacker and kind of a tight end that just ran straight.
Dude, that's so cool. Well, a tight end that runs straight. It's so funny how that turned into you're a Super Bowl champion. Yeah. It's amazing, right? So I want to get into, I have a funny story, but I have to wait until we get there on your timeline. But what's junior and senior year like? Are you dominating Oak Creek? Are you dominating Wisconsin football? I mean, obviously enough to go to the All-American Bowl. Like that's really special. What happened after your sophomore year that like catapulted you into like destroying people?
So my sophomore year, so Oak Creek has historically had very good football teams. And again, I was 15 years old and I was playing with guys that were on varsity, which were awesome players. We continuously had D1 players every single year. And my junior year was probably the year that I started to get recognition my sophomore year, but more so stood out my junior year. And it was just the guys that I was around. We had a really good football team. Unfortunately, this still hurts me till today. We actually played against Nick Hayden, and which actually ended up being my quarterback at UW was Tyler Donovan. So we played Arrowhead in the semifinals to go to state, and we were up 25-6 at halftime, and we ended up losing 25-26. And I will never be able to live that down. I will never be able to live that down. So that was my junior year. Man, I might start crying.
Dude, don't start crying.
I will never.
There's nothing worse.
I will never live that down. So then I was surrounded around awesome players my junior year, and then my senior year, it was just kind of like it was known that I was going to be like the Gatorade High School Player of the Year, and again, my coaches did an awesome job at putting my name out there, and my team surrounded around me expected a lot out of me, in which I loved. And so it was pretty much my junior and senior year where kind of I took control and kind of was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to be the best player on this field. And and that worked out.
So well, obviously, if you're going to the Army game, every college must be knocking on your door. So what put Wisconsin above all the rest, and tell us who else was showing up?
So there was my first letter I got was my sophomore year, and it was a written letter, and it's from Miami. And there was a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that were a lot of colleges that were looking at me, and they would continuously be at practices, be at games, and once you have a lot of options, you hear a lot of voices coming from different ways, and
Sure.
You want to figure out what's best for you. So my top colleges were Ohio State, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Miami, and Florida State. And I had all 5 of those colleges. I had all of those visits planned out, and went to Tennessee, went to Oklahoma, and I didn't do any of the other visits. And my biggest fan, again, going back to when I said that my mom always believed in me, I wanted to stay home to be able to have her watch all of my games. And I had an extremely huge fan base in Wisconsin, very supportive. Wisconsin, as far as their sports, are unbelievable. So I ended up going to Wisconsin, and probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
I think that's crazy. So you went to Tennessee and Oklahoma. I mean, those places must have been amazing.
Oh my goodness. I went to Tennessee the one time, and I can still like recite their like school songs. It's like just from the one time. The SEC is ridiculous about their sports as well.
I'm sure. So just from going to those two, seeing all those things, being a little bit further away from Wisconsin, that kind of said like, oh, maybe I want to stick around.
Yeah, I was always a homebody, and I just couldn't see myself going anywhere else. And to be honest with you, I've probably been to 1, maybe 2 Badger games before I went to the University of Wisconsin. But obviously Coach Alvarez was Coach Alvarez, and he's very good at what he did. And, I just decided that Wisconsin was what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. And again, it was the best decision I probably ever made.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely for me also.
Yeah.
So did you call them, or were they on the board? Were they like sending you stuff and calling you?
Yeah, so they were one of the first schools to reach out. Coach Bleav at the time was the linebackers coach, and him and Coach Albury. Actually, Coach Murphy. Do you remember Coach Murphy?
Yeah, special teams.
Yeah. Coach Murphy reached out. Coach Murphy was always awesome, and it got to the point where I felt so comfortable with them that we would have big games at Oak Creek, and I would call Coach Murphy like, "Hey, like, all right, so I'm trying to scheme. Like, what should I do against this? What should I getting tips from him?" And I was like, man, I think Wisconsin is where I want to spend my next 4 years. So,
well, I think you made a good choice.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too, man.
Yeah,
that's it.
So I'll tell you my story, because I saw Travis come in. I'm like, all right, linebacker, this is great. This dude is kind of like jacked, but kind of gang, like not 260 pounds like I was, 265 maybe. And I'm like, man, I could probably pick on this guy. And the first time we started hitting, I was like, I can't really pick on this guy. Like, Travis, something about you, man, you just like, you hit with authority. Like I mean, I was happy because I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be pretty solid. What did you think of that fat fullback that was running into you?
So I mean, like I said, I didn't really go to many Badger games, but I knew you and watched the one game that you played, and I knew that they didn't give you the ball a lot. They didn't give you the ball a lot, which I was really upset. But I knew that you brought a load with you, and just me coming out of college or me coming out of high school, seeing that. And just seeing you destroy guys, I was intimidated. Like, yes, and when you say don't dummy down the whole picking on me part, because you picked on me a lot, and I'll never forget that to this day. So, but yeah, it was just awesome, and it was always out of respect for the older guys, and clearly, you've blocked for some of the best backs in school history, and that holds weight. And as much as I tried to make a name for myself by bringing the wood, like, it was nothing but respect for guys like you and those older guys.
What's funny, like, the older guys always made the younger guys kind of earn it in whatever way that was. And once we hit, I was like, man, okay. And then I'm like, dude, during the season, I was like, yo, Travis, let's chill. Like, I got a headache already from these games. Of like, you're going way too hard. Who was the D end? He would go too hard too. He was good.
Terrence Jamison?
No, Terrence Jamison would go too hard also, but he was a DB. Who was the D end?
Remember Terrence? His brother played for Michigan. What was it? What year was it?
So that was you're right. I thought he was your year because he was on the scout team.
Was it Shaughnessy?
No, Shaughnessy was good too. Let me think about it. I haven't thought about this guy's name in a while, but he used to go like 10,000%. And I remember guys coming up to me when I was a freshman being like, dude, you got to chill out. I'm like, yeah, we're 5-5. Like, I'm not chilling out. We suck. And now when I was like a senior, I was like, dude, you guys got to chill out. It's like such a weird, oh man. Okay. So you came into, so what was the transition like? Like, you showed up on campus.
Yeah. So it was, I was still doing summer classes, and I actually showed up during the summer and wanted to get a quick start. And it was just kind of getting acclimated. One, me only coming from Milwaukee, I thought it was like 500 miles. And then just being around guys that I didn't really know, because in high school, especially getting ready to go to a top-notch college, like, everyone's telling you what you want to hear. And then you get thrown into the fire where, like, yeah, you're a top recruit, but like, you're a small fish in a big pond now. Now it's time that you got to earn your numbers. You got to earn your keep. And it was just kind of me adjusting to life as a freshman in college, and knowing that there's so many outside factors, but school, and football was the reason why I was there. But it took a while for me to get adjusted. But I think the coaches and some of the guys that it also helped that Calhoun was there, and Calhoun went to my high school. So anytime I needed some kind of guidance, I would just reach out to him, especially when you guys would tape me and throw me in the shower. He was always the one that was cutting off the tape. So, but
Listen,
yeah, it was just
that happened to everyone. I've been in the showers with tape. At least I never had my helmet taped on. I don't think I did. That was like when you really wanted to get somebody. Matt, so what Travis brings up is actually very fond memories. The upperclassmen during camp, usually, sometimes during the season, would tape a guy, depending on, like if he was going too hard or like, it was actually, I would say, more respectful than, it was just like, dude, you're annoying us because you're doing too well. And the coaches are like giving you a lot of praise, and you tape guys up. And, we have pillars. So sometimes they tape you to the pillars and they just leave you there. And then what they would do is wait for your freshman buddies to go get a tape cutter and cut you down. The problem with that was whoever helped them was the next person next week who would get taped. So it was an endless cycle. It could have been way worse. I thought like getting taped was like bad, but not like that bad. But getting thrown in the showers was annoying because it's hard to get out of, wet tape is annoying. So I'm sorry, Travis, if that happened. I hope you.
It's all good. It's all good. I live to be able to tell my kids that I was taped up and thrown in the shower. So,
but you know what? It happens. I think it happens to pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
We even got a coach.
Absolutely.
Once. We got the assistant. One of the assistant weight training coaches came in the locker room. We grabbed them and taped them up. I felt bad because I don't know. I think I helped somebody. I think I taped them, and then I think I helped them too because that was ruthless.
You seem like the kind of guy who would tape someone up. So
it was out of, it was because I love people. I never made anyone do death march or any of these stupid things like we used to have like a drinking where people just had to drink until they threw up, and no one made me do it. Chad Kuhn's like, I went up to him one day, like, Chad, do I have to do this? And he's like, no, I don't really, I don't care. So I never really made anyone do that, which I thought that was like a little bit taping somebody, not so bad.
Yeah.
Doing that a little bit worse. Listen, the coaches even saw us tape people. Like they just didn't say anything.
It was like ritual.
It was pretty much ritual. If that's like the worst thing, then it's not that bad. So Travis, so then after the first season, where you played a little bit of special teams, like you were you were playing, what's it like to play as a freshman in your home state, which I think is so cool. Okay, and I'll leave it at that because I have 100 questions afterwards.
It was awesome because I mean, just being able to play under the lights in high school at a school like Oak Creek was amazing. But then when you do it at the University of Wisconsin, it's a completely different level. It's a completely different feeling. It was awesome, but it was kind of upsetting at the same time because you're so used to being the man in high school, and you go to college, and I didn't play much. I mean, I played, but I didn't play much as a freshman, and it was just kind of figuring out my niche and what I could do to help this team, and what I was going to do my next step to be the best player that I could be. And it was just kind of me rolling with the punches my freshman year, and then hoping that my next few years were going to be better.
So this is what I've never actually asked you, but what was like what happened after that season, or was there talk before to move your position? Because it seems going from linebacker to tight end seems like a big switch, especially in college after a year.
Yeah, so I've seen like interviews as far as Coach Bielema being like, oh yeah, well, I talked to Travis about the change, and I'm the one that suggested it. No, he didn't. Don't be lying, Coach. Like, so it was after our season, then we were in bowl practice, and I was playing scout offense. And I was like, man, this is actually pretty fun. I mean, quarterback's throwing me the ball, like I'm scoring in practice, like this is a great feeling. So then it came to after the season, I went up to Coach Bleav and I was like, hey, and this was when Coach Alvey announced that he was retiring. And so then Bleav, which was then my linebackers coach, was now the tight end, which is now the head coach. And I told him that I wanted to try out the position, and he kind of like giggled and I'm like, no. I was like, I know you spent the last however many years recruiting me as a linebacker. I was like, but I'm being serious about this. And went to Coach Chris, and he was like, well, we'll try it out in spring ball. And it was good, but how it was in spring ball wasn't like I would have had a breakout year. Mm-hmm. And then spring ball was just kind of like me getting used to the plays, the offense, catching the ball, making people miss, because I was just so used to being on the other side of the ball the last few years. I had to really figure out how I was going to be successful on the other side of the ball. And then, I went to my sophomore year, and Stocco made me look really good.
Were there any?
Man.
Were there any of the guys when you first came in as a linebacker who kind of like took you under their wing and was like kind of showed you the ropes at all? Like, because also like you came in with DeAndre Levy, right? You guys were the same class, and Jonathan Casillas.
Yep.
That's a heck of a linebacker.
JC,
that's a heck of a linebacker class right there.
Yeah. So, so at that time, it kind of picked on me a lot too was Mark Zalewski. So I guess so.
He still picks on me, by the way. So
yes, I know.
He still does every day.
I seen him. I don't know. Maybe it was like last year. We were at an event, and he was still trying to pick on me. I'm like, dude, I'm not a freshman anymore. You can't do this. Like, it's not okay. I'm a real boy now. You can't do this.
Listen, I'm in a group text with him and my brother for fantasy, and it's every week making fun of me. So I feel your pain, and I completely know where you're coming from.
Freaking Mark. So, but it was just kind of like trying to earn my position. And I would say probably in that linebacking core, I would probably say the freshmen were pretty much, they were close knit. And I would say it was just kind of like us freshmen, like me, DeAndre, and Jonathan Casillas. And then it was us trying to bond together to try and earn a name for ourselves until I switched over to offense.
That was a good room, though. Dantes was the weak side linebacker.
Yeah.
Zoo was strong side.
Yeah. Tezzy was, Tez, now I think about it, Tezzy would more, I would say if anybody did, it was probably Dantes. He kind of took me under the wing because he kind of took me under his wing and just kind of showed me the ropes and was just like, all right, I can show you so much, but now it's just you going out and being a football player. So, yeah.
Wait, so just from scout team, you're like, man, I want to try this out?
Yeah, so I wasn't playing much. I wasn't playing as much as I wanted to my freshman year. And I knew that Owen Daniels and Jason Posiak were leaving.
Right.
And then I make the transition over to tight end. And then remember, Crooks was a linebacker, and he made the transition as well.
Right.
And I was like, catching the football, like, this is awesome. Like, this is something that I could see myself like earning a future with. And yeah.
But also Garrett was in that room too, right? He came in that year?
Garrett, yes. Garrett was Garrett came in with me, and he came in as a tight end. Yeah, Garrett came in as a tight end. Yep.
Who else was in that room?
Garrett, as far as tight ends or my class?
Tight ends. I can't even remember, which is sad.
What's his name? I can't remember his name. Super nice guy. Really smart, tall, lanky.
All right. Well, it was Crooksy, who I love, but you and Crooksy are definitely a different type of tight end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So then,
he was fat at the time.
Yeah, he was a little thicker. Sorry, Crooks. I mean, who am I to call
was it Javier McFadden?
Oh, Javier was a linebacker. Did he come in as a tight end?
He came in as a tight end, yeah.
He did come in as a tight end. Yep.
And then
come in as a tight end.
Who else was there? Sean Lewis would have been there.
Yep, Sean Lewis.
But he moved from
he was so tall.
Yeah,
he was so tall.
His name was Matt.
Not Matt Perkins, that's me.
No. I think his name was Matt. I can't think of his last name now.
I mean, obviously not Shaughnessy. He was playing. He was playing D end.
But he was solid class.
Yeah, we had a pretty awesome freshman class.
Oh my, yeah. So then after spring practice, like Coach B is like, Travis, we're gonna leave you there, man. You look pretty good. Like, or you look like you're trending well. How did that conversation, like, who's the tight ends coach? Was it Chris?
My freshman year, or my sophomore year, was Coach Bostad.
Oh,
and
okay.
Coach Bostad was he was a lineman. That's what he wanted to. That was his bread and butter. And again, like years prior to that, like there was never. Owen Daniels was awesome, but he was never like a slot receiver. He was your tight end, like your normal tight end, and
old school Y, like
yeah. And it just got to the point where just in spring ball that Stocco was he was hitting me on routes where I would be deep, where I would be running slants, and it felt normal. It felt comfortable there.
And so, but what was it like transitioning to like running routes? Like, how did that, like, did coach say, hey, 3 steps, put your right foot in the ground and cut to the left, or like it was more evolved than that?
It was kind of, I did work with Coach Mason a lot.
Yeah.
And Coach Mason, this is the time, like, I got done watching like Brandon Williams and B. White was there. That ran some of the most clean routes that I've ever seen. And then Jarvis was there, and Paul Hubbard was there, and Luke Swan, who always ran good routes. So I kind of learned from those guys, and just kind of watching some of the bigger wide receivers, how they run routes. And it was just kind of like trial and error. But again, it did feel supernatural. And I just kind of like let my athletic ability kind of do the work for me.
Matt Brown is the name you're looking for.
Yes, Matt Brown. Yeah. Yes, Matt Brown.
Matty Brown. Oh man, it's funny. People like text me like, "Do you remember this guy?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I do." But you like forget, there's so many guys on the team.
Yeah.
Like hundreds, if not hundreds. Like at one point, like when freshmen come in, like the start of school, there's like 130 guys on the team at some point. You like walk in, you're like, who are all these people moving into lockers?
Exactly.
Oh man!
So I got a quick question. So one of those guys who was a year below you is the tight ends coach now, Mickey Turner. Did he have that? Did he give off that coaching vibe then, like someone who was a little bit more cerebral? Did you ever like foresee him like turning into a coach, or was there anything that stood out about him?
Mickey was always awesome, and it's funny because Mickey was always a good-looking dude, and so I kind of like took him under my wing when he first came in, taking him to parties as soon as he got on campus, and kind of used him as my bait. But Mickey was always an awesome human and very smart, and he was always one of those guys that was going to stay extra and watch film, and that was from the day that I first met him, and it's got him continuously coaching now and doing an awesome job with the guys over there.
He really has done a fantastic job. I totally forgot that you guys played together. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So then go into like sophomore, junior year, you're playing, you're having success. What does that feel like to be like, oh, you came in, you were like one of the most highly recruited linebackers.
Yeah.
Now you're having such success on as a tight end. And then you have your senior year. And I mean, then we
Yeah.
could talk about getting drafted and all the whole nine, but
Yeah.
how gratifying is that for you to I don't want to say fight for yourself, but like you were your best advocate, I guess, as wanting to move. How great was that?
So again, and it goes back to high school, and I was just so used to being the guy. And it's actually an awesome story because again, Stocko was my quarterback my sophomore year, and my first probably 4 or 5 games of the season, I probably had like, I don't know, maybe like 6 catches. And I never had a breakout season, so I didn't know what it was like. But it came to, I remember we were at Michigan, and it was late in the game. We didn't end up winning the game, but there was like 2 drives where Stocko connected with me, and they're awesome throws. They're very, very important catches. And ever since, it's super word, ever since I felt like that's the game that Stocko earned my trust. And it went from me playing the first like 4 games with like a total of like 5 catches. And then that game, I think I had like 2 or 3 catches. But from that game on to the rest of the season, that put me at second in the nation in receptions. And just the connection, just the chemistry that Stocko and I built just from that one game, it was lights out after that. And that was when Coach Christ made a point to put me in the position to create mismatches with defenses.
That's awesome. So, dude, but what was it like to try to block somebody?
Oh man, I don't miss blocking at all. It was even until like I played the Super Bowl at 226. I was 225 pounds my sophomore year in college, and it was tough, and I needed to bring everything that I had, it was tough. I mean, because you're out there blocking guys that are 290 pounds, and it was tough. It was tough, but I don't miss it at all.
Listen, I don't miss blocking either. What was your favorite college game you played in?
Favorite college game? Probably man. And I think we lost both games, but just going out there and being able to, and it was super late that we ended up losing, but just being able to go out there and whoop up on Ohio State. And it always seemed like Stocko had something out for Ohio State because he always threw me the ball, and Tyler Donovan as well. They always threw me the ball when we played Ohio State. And I don't know. I feel like it was probably one of those games that I would probably say that were probably like my most. That's a good question. It got me thinking now.
Well, what was it like? So you scored in college and in the NFL. Yeah. What's your favorite touchdown in college? What's your favorite in the NFL?
My favorite touchdown in college was against Ohio State. My junior year, catching from Tyler Donovan, catching a pass in the back of the end zone, which is in the movie Draft Day.
Nice.
So, and I tried to get some compensation for that, but they weren't having it. No, dirt bags. Yeah. But it was probably that. There were so many from Tyler because he was just so agile, and just when you thought the play was over, he would just kind of throw up the ball and just be like, Travis, go get it. And done it several times, and some great memories.
That's great. And then which one in the NFL?
Probably against Green Bay. my third year, Green Bay was in New York, and it was the third play of the game. And I beat Pepper on the seam route, and 67 yards later, I was in the end zone, and I had like all my friends up from back home playing Green Bay, and yeah, it was awesome. I would probably say that was my favorite catch. Kind of blacked out. Really don't remember what happened after I got in the end zone, but yeah, that was probably my favorite.
And that is
catch.
really cool.
Yeah.
So what's draft day like? Like you knew you were going to go in the draft. What are you doing? You're not Joe Thomas sitting on a rowboat.
Yeah. My senior year was kind of different because I broke my leg my senior year. So it was kind of like you've seen anywhere from like second round to like fourth round.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with my family on draft night, and I talked to New York, and New York had 2 picks in the second, 2 picks in the third. And I was like, trying to ease my way into talking, like I'm a college kid and trying to ease my way talking to like one of the recruiters for the Giants. Like, all right, so stop beating around the bush. What's going to happen? Like, where are you going to be drafting me? And so I was in Milwaukee with all of my family around. They got rid, or they didn't. This is when they did the first and the second rounds on the first day. So I didn't go the first or second round. And then again, had my family around at a venue in Milwaukee. And they did the first pick in the third round. And it wasn't me, it was Ramses Barden, a receiver out of Cal Poly. And then, you know how you watch the TV, and I make sure I tell all of my friends and family to make sure that they don't call me. And I'm like, make sure you guys don't call me. Like, I have to make sure that I can get this call. And yeah, then my phone rings, and it's just like, wow, this is actually happening. And yeah, it was life-changing, and the tears started rolling, and yeah, it was a memory that I'll never forget.
So you see your name on the board, everyone goes bananas. I'm sure your family must have been so proud of you.
Yeah.
Is it a crazy night?
Yeah, so I had my friends. So I had my friends. I was always super simple, so I had all my friends with me, and I was in Milwaukee, and then we went back out to Madison that night, and we just kind of all went out and just I had all the girls put on New York stuff, and had all my boys put on New York stuff, and it was just kind of like it was like, let's just have a night, and this is something that I've been dreaming of my whole entire life.
But was New York one of your teams? You're like, I would love to play for the Giants, or it's like, yeah, sure, I'll play with, at that point, I was like, whatever team picks me.
I was pretty much with whoever picks me. I didn't actually think it was going to necessarily be New York, because they had Brandon Jacobs, and obviously as a tight end, you need to block for the running back. And Brandon Jacobs was actually bigger than me, so I didn't know how that was necessarily going to work. And they weren't necessarily like an offense that utilized an H-back tight end. But yeah, they ended up drafting me, and still cherish them and respect them until this day.
And you won a ring with them.
I did win a ring with them. Tore my ACL in the Super Bowl, but it was well worth the ring.
I mean, I would probably give up a leg to win a Super Bowl. Okay, so, but I always love this, because you did exactly the reverse of what I did. I played in New York and then went to Wisconsin. You went from Wisconsin to New York. What was that transition like? You were a homebody, you said before. New York is a big place with a big market, although you guys probably practiced and lived in Jersey. What was that experience like?
It was like you said, it was it was a life-changing experience. It was kind of one of those things where going to Wisconsin, when you're a small fish in a big pond, now you're like a small fish in like the Atlantic Ocean. And it's just a different world out there, and you have to learn to adapt. And luckily they kind of put us up in a hotel and away from the outside factors, and FaceTiming and calling my friends after every practice and letting them know that I miss them. And I mean, it was probably like 2 weeks I was out there. I already had people coming out like, all right, this is enough. Like, I miss you guys already. So it was definitely a life-changing experience. But that's the thing about life, is you have to learn to adapt, and I had to roll with the punches.
So what was it like? I mean, Giants fans are crazy. I mean, Jets fans are worse, but in a worse way, because I'm one of them. What is it like to play, like when you go to the Eagles, or you're going to the Washington team now and you're going to the Cowboys? Like, what's it like playing in that conference? Because all those teams have like diehard fans. And if you go play the Eagles, they want to fight you and try to kill you.
Yeah. Eagles fans are tough. Like I thought that Iowa fans were tough because they're so close to you on the sidelines and like knew all your info, talking about your mom and stuff, and like, but it's 10 times worse out in Philadelphia. I mean, they're throwing stuff at our bus when we pull up, and I'm like, man, these guys take this football too serious. Like, but they're very cutthroat. But the thing is that I mean, Giants fans aren't like that, but Giants fans are very cutthroat as well. You're in a big market, and they expect a lot out of their sports. And if you don't produce, they are going to let you know that.
They'll let you know right away. They'll boo you. I mean, throwing stuff at the bus. I think the Eagles, it was an Eagles-Giants game. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but they were throwing snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yeah, that was back in the 70s or 80s.
I mean, that's bananas.
Yeah. They're very cutthroat. They are very, very cutthroat.
What was it like playing with Eli? What was Eli like? Because like he seems like a quirky, goofy guy. Like he seems like everyone says he's like the king of practical jokes. Like, what was your relationship like with Eli?
Yeah, Eli had that smart humor. Eli was awesome. He was a guy that was going to lead by his actions. Wasn't very vocal, but he was one of those guys that was going to know that playbook inside and out, and was going to be able to put you in the best position to have success. And Eli was quiet. He was to himself, but he was a leader, and he just went out day in and day out, and had people follow him.
And you had actually played against Ramses Barden like a year or two before, right? Because I remember Cal Poly came to Wisconsin and gave you guys like a game, like gave you guys like quite a game, and like Wisconsin won like with a late field goal, might have been in overtime. Like I remember that pretty vividly.
Yeah, it felt like for some reason we always played bad against the non-conference games, but Cal Poly did come in, and they have nothing to lose. And Ramses Barden was a heck of an athlete, and
big kid too.
Yeah, he's he was probably, I mean, in New York, I was like 5 pounds heavier than him, but I played tight end and he played wide receiver. And it's just like, well, why don't we switch the roles here, buddy? But yeah, he was a heck of an athlete, and got drafted before me to go to New York. And yeah, he was just, I think I just seen him about 2 weeks ago. Ramses was about 6'6", probably like 230 pounds. So heck of an athlete. And yeah, I do remember that when Cal Poly almost came in to Camp Randall and beat us.
So speaking of heck of an athlete, who was the biggest physical freak that when you were either in the NFL or college, when you were just like, oh my God, I can't believe this human is this big, this fast, this strong, or any combination thereof?
Well, it had to probably be probably like Mario Williams.
Oh yeah.
With when he was with the Texans, or I remember like trying to block Julius Peppers, and he just extended his arms, and I'm trying to like flail my arms. I can't even grab a hold of him. But I would probably say, like, as far as like physical, like makes my neck hurt till this day. When I had to block Clay Matthews, every time I had to block Clay Matthews, we would be in the huddle, and Eli would call the play, and we'd break, and I'd run out. And I had to block on the right side, and Clay was sitting right there, and I literally, every time I blocked him, I'd get a stinger. My whole left arm would go numb, and it was just warming my arm up before I got to the line to try and get some extra power. Because he would just headbutt you, and I would just lose all strength in the left side of my arm. And I just hated my life then.
You just got to grab him by the hair and pull him down.
I did, but then it probably make them more mad. Then I try to get stingers on the other side.
Oh man, well, I know we're running out of time, but I had a question so looking at this team now, I don't know if you watch the games in any type of like thorough way like Matt and I do. What would you, first off, the linebacker play is outstanding.
Yeah,
you don't even have to watch the games to just know that. What do you, and same with the tight ends, what kind of legacy does that feel like? Because you were in both rooms, so you know that legacy must be real nice. What are you seeing that you're like, wow, these guys are killing it in college? And what do you see like for the next level for all three of them, or at least the linebackers?
I would probably know more so on the level of tight ends, but the defense and Jim Leonard is doing an awesome job. Did an awesome job in the NFL, doing an awesome job now. And the defense has been kind of carrying us on the season. And they've been doing a great job. But as far as the tight ends, Ferg is awesome. I wish that he would get the ball more. He's a heck of an athlete. And I think he's probably, not probably, but he's going to go down as one of the top tight ends in school history. And he's earned a name for himself. And I reach out to him once in a while and just kind of try to give him a little pep talk. And he's just like, "What's up, GOAT?" And from me hearing that the guys respect me like that means a lot. And any kind of influence that I can have on those guys, I'm willing to do it. Because I don't want him to break any of my records, but I'm like, I want him to be the best player that he can be until he gets close to my records.
So I actually, you know, how Matt and I even got connected in the first place was over the summer, I put together my all 21st century Badger teams. And, you know, I had Matty as the fullback, obviously, and I had you and Owen Daniels as the two tight ends. In your mind, taking yourself out of the equation, who do you think's the best to do it at Wisconsin, the tight end position?
Besides me?
Besides you. Is it Owen? Is it Troy Fumagalli?
Owen. I would say Owen. I would say gotta have my boy. I mean,
Garrett Graham.
Owen's up there. Owen, you got Garrett Graham, you got Jake Ferguson, you got Lance Kendricks. Lance was awesome at Wisconsin. Garrett was awesome. I would say probably if he's listening to this, Crooks was in there. I mean, he was blocking, doing the dirty work now. Crooks can block his butt off. I would probably say Owen.
I tell you, bring up Crooks. Crooks was always in the right position.
Yeah,
everywhere. He had picks, he had fumbles, he had touchdowns.
Yeah,
I can't understand, because you see Andy and you're like, you know, like, oh yeah, this guy looks like he played football.
Yeah.
Like you're like at like a high level, and then all of a sudden you like watch. He has like every highlight tape. He was like had a play on it. He just was like, I don't know. He's like one of those lucky dudes to just be around the ball, either on defense or on offense. I couldn't believe it. I would go with OD. I mean, the guy was just special. I think he came in. You know, he came as a quarterback, but he was not really a blocker. They had other guys. Jason Posiak was the blocker. Eventually went to the Jets. but OD was like the guy that nobody could figure out. Like they couldn't guard him. He was almost like a Dallas Clark from Iowa, but like Dallas Clark was 4 years earlier. But he put his hand down on the ground. OD really didn't put his hand down on the ground a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel like he revolutionized the position at Wisconsin for sure. And I think he led the way for guys like you who, you're going to block, but you're better in the pass game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We had a lot of good. I mean, I watched Dallas Clark completely embarrass us in 2002 at Iowa. And like, we just couldn't, nobody could guard him. Like, so you have a good tight end like that, you guys are unstoppable.
Yeah, when you have a tight end like that, I mean, it's a secret weapon. Now, the only thing that comes along with that is you have to have a quarterback that is going to get him the ball. I mean, you just look at something like he doesn't run great routes as far as Jason Whitney doesn't run great routes. Tony Romo knew where he was going to be. And I think once you have that connection, you're unstoppable. And that's why I wish that we figure it out with my boy Jake Ferg over here, because he's a heck of an athlete. You just see some of the catches that he makes for the minimal of times that he's thrown to. Like, I mean, he should end up this season with he should have 50 catches. You know what I mean? And we just gotta find a quarterback that can get him the ball.
All
It'll
right.
be in the NFL next year.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up here. Travis, can't thank you enough for hopping on with us. We appreciate it. Where can the people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Travis Beckum.
Looking pretty clean in that profile picture in the suit too.
Appreciate it. And then I think my Twitter is Travis Beckum 47. I mean, any other outlets there are. I actually DJ on the weekends, so DJ 47 FOUR and then the number 7. You guys looking for me to DJ your wedding? Bernie, you looking me to DJ like my
daughter's bat mitzvah. You just gotta,
exactly.
You gotta give her 12 years
before that. It'll be a few years before that.
We got 12 years at least. We'll figure, there's got to be something else in between there. Hopefully, there's more celebrations.
Exactly.
Listen, my 45th birthday is coming up. It's the only one I really care about because I'm gonna try to skinny my way into my jersey.
I see what you did there.
I have to oil myself up for that one, but it's gonna be great.
I love it. Are you
44? Really, it's a pleasure.
You're 44 years old?
No, I'm just saying it's. I mean, it's the only one I'm looking forward to.
Because I'm going to be number 40. You'll be 45 into 45. Like
I was like, man, how many times did you fail 6th grade?
That would have been the grade. Actually 7th grade was very hard for me. No, I'll be 39, which has no numerical value to me at all.
Okay.
So 40, I guess, but 45 it is, man.
Got it.
And then my high school number is 80. So somehow I got to live that long. I'll fit into that jersey no matter how fat I am. It was huge. So 80's the goal, I guess.
I like it.
Travis, thank you, man. This is a pleasure. It's great seeing you, and we'll connect a bunch coming up.
Sounds good, fellas. I appreciate it.
Man, always good to see you, man. Look at you.
All right, thanks, guys, and until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.